Hi, we're starting the live a little bit early. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is a kind of a daily segment that Jeff Jacobson and I do in order to answer questions regarding unemployment resources and issues. I'm going to pop Jeff up here in a second, but essentially we answer questions that are on the Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Guidance Facebook group. We also, if you comment or ask questions or click that link, you can pop up and ask Jeff Jacobson your questions yourself. But this is just kind of done as a public service to make sure that questions that people have regarding the unemployment issues, problems, filings are met in Illinois. We've answered questions in Indiana, Michigan, that type of thing. I know that there was some concerns about some compromising of some database issues. I think Jeff's going to talk about that as well. So I will pop Jeff up. Give me a thumbs up, Jeff, if you're ready. And we will pop him up and see what he can shed some light on in regards to that. Hey, Jeff, happy Monday.
Thank you. Morning to you. How are you doing?
A little tired, but ready to answer some questions and help people out. How about yourself?
Same. The rain last night was a little concerning. Had to make sure the backup sump pump was running and our backyard kind of filled up like a swimming pool.
So if you're watching this from any other area besides the Illinois area, we're from the western suburbs of Illinois. The town I live in, actually, Lisle, has a chronic problem sometimes with the flooding issues. And according to my rain gauge, there was 3 inches of water. Luckily, we avoided any sort of flooding, but some of our neighbors and people in our community weren't quite so lucky. So I know Sarah's kind of tending to that as well.
Yeah, it's I went by the 4 lakes. There's that little stream. It looked like whitewater rafting last night.
Yeah, and unfortunately we had a situation over the weekend where someone was swept away by this fast moving water even before the rains of today. So just a quick reminder, as always, don't mess around with that water. It can easily take you even a little bit of it, even if it looks like it's not moving fast. It was a tragic case earlier, so just something to keep cognizant of. But I know something else in the news, Jeff, that we were following, at least that I noticed yesterday, and you said that you were noticing it and following along with it as well, is it seems like some of the Illinois database was compromised, according to a Tribune article.
Well, right. It's and there was a complaint filed by a representative. So on supposedly on 5/15, a claimant found that Deloitte had failed to secure the claimant's personal information. She was able to access, and this looks like it's limited to PUA. She was able to access all the claimant's personal information that filed for PUA. On 5/18, IDS said that one claimant was able to access personal identification information, and IDS stated that on 5/18 that within an hour of being notified that they shut this down so no one can do it. It's very concerning because if there is one breach like that, we're not sure how well the software was tested and whether there's potentially other breaches. However, I do want to emphasize everyone should keep filing for their PUA. Do not let this panic you. There's unfortunately no way to get around filing for a PUA without doing it in the system. Although interestingly enough, I did a little research. Deloitte, who's a consulting company that has done this, is not foreign to lawsuits over its programming capabilities. In 2009, Miami-Dade County in Florida fired Deloitte partway through the $84 million contract to overhaul the district's computer system. They paid Deloitte $30 million and had virtually nothing usable that they could reuse or rescue. They turned it over to their in-house technology department and it finished on time and with budget. then in 2011, and these are like major ones I can file, Deloitte settled with Marin County, California, resulting in a $3.9 million settlement. Deloitte denied any fault. In 2013, they were 2 years late and $6 million over budget in delivering a system. The Department of Revenue fired the firm for falling behind on a $114 million tax system overhaul. That's according to the Boston Globe. In 2016, Deloitte had agreed to pay $11.38 million to resolve allegations under the False Claims Act, that they submitted false claims under a General Service Administration contract. And that false claims is, so the contract with the GSA was that if any commercial companies paid less than what the government would pay, Deloitte would reduce the government's charges proportionally to what the commercial entities could pay. And they found that Deloitte was not doing that properly. So it wasn't really neglect on the software, just failure to follow the contract. In February 2018, now we're getting a little closer, they were the auditing arm, $150 million they had to pay to the federal government for being grossly negligent. In 4/25/20, a lawsuit in Florida was filed against Deloitte. The lawsuit alleges negligence in creating and administrating the software system. There's more, but I think that just shows that Deloitte may not be the best, and I don't know how many other problems we're going to see. So that's where we currently are. We'll see probably today or tomorrow whether there's more problems with the software, but I'm hoping people will at least file for the PUA because they really need the money. And it's unfortunate that this has popped up so early.
Absolutely. So we do obviously have a couple of questions that have come in on the weekend that we should get to. And then again, just a quick reminder that if you are interested in asking your question, go ahead and put it in the comments or click on the link and we will get it answered. But there were a couple that I found kind of interesting because it's something related to the company itself. I'm going to start with one from Tristan that says, my company is openly going against the stay-at-home order. We were deemed non-essential and staff was either furloughed or laid off. During the month of April, the company sent out multiple messages indicating an under-the-table deal being made with local mayors. And again, we're just reading the questions that are coming. That would allow them to open an appointment-only basis, again, going against the executive order. They indicated in emails that volunteers would be called in first. Upon calling various employees and giving different information to each, a good chunk declined volunteering and voiced concern, and they were told that they did not have to return. I mean, is that something that you've heard of before, or companies kind of setting their own rules? I don't know if that's in violation of the stay-at-home order. Is the order law? What exactly is it? Maybe if any light you can shed on this question.
So the governor has the power to do these orders. Currently, they've all been, except for the one individual down south, the courts have all enforced and supported the order by the governor. It isn't a law, it's a governor's order. So when it expires after 30 days, then you don't have to follow it. Once again, I think the governor has issued somewhere around 30 orders. So as they about to expire, he looks at the facts and the science and enters a new order. So they do have to follow it. The IDS definition is still, if because of the governor's order you have to stay at home, then you're entitled to unemployment benefits. So that's a really good question, because we're going to start seeing that. I'm hearing more and more people are forced to go to work, and they can't violate the governor's order.
Okay, there's another question here. Again, related to a company. I have a question. I work for a large automobile factory, and they've implemented where we have to wear a mask while we're in the warehouse. I have asthma and I can't wear a mask covering my nose and mouth. So my plant manager told me that I will have to take a formal or informal leave of absence. Does anyone know if I can file unemployment benefits and be approved with that kind of a situation?
So absolutely, and that actually would be something that you would be entitled to benefits even before COVID. So if your doctor has told you that you have to stay home and you don't need a written prescription from your doctor, but if your doctor says you need to stay at home, then you're entitled to unemployment benefits, especially since you can work possibly from home. There may be other jobs you can do. So that would clearly be something that you would be entitled to unemployment benefits for.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I think we're starting to see different types of questions coming in. We started with the general filing questions and how to wait, how to get through. We were having a lot of those, and now people are saying, hey, companies are trying to reopen. They have certain restrictions. How do we go along with those? How are we compliant? What are we entitled to? So I think that we are going to notice potentially some changing questions coming in. But again, the best way to know is to read this.
Well, and I think, Raza, we had talked about a while ago, as states start opening up, the actual governors start issuing orders, that there's going to be issues with unemployment benefits. So we're seeing that with now companies forcing the employees to go to work. Fortunately, there's still a governor's order in effect. If once that governor's office order expires and there's no new ones, then that becomes a problem. And so if a doctor tells the person that they need to stay home or they can't go to that work site, then they're still entitled to unemployment benefits.
Well, that's good to know. So let's see. Tara asked, good morning. A couple of things. I certified this morning for the first time and it is showing up saying I should maintain my work search information on a daily basis. What exactly does that mean? I wish she had specified which state she's with, but
it's probably the same, because under the federal law, there's certain things you have to do. So she has to, there's three elements to unemployment: able, available, and actively searching for work. In Illinois, pursuant to the recent definitions by IDS, if you have to stay at home because of the governor's order, then you're still able and available for work. And if you've got a job, if the job's temporarily closed and it'll be opening up after the governor's order, after COVID-19, then the definition is you're actively searching for work still, even though you're not looking. Normally, you have to look for work. You have to go onto a website. You have to send out a resume. You have to contact someone, some way that you're looking for work. So depending upon, what state you're at, you'll probably have to do it. Illinois' minimal requirement under normal times is you have to be contacting at least 3 employers a week. So that could be through any of the websites, the individual websites, calling in, going door to door, those kind of things. So I don't know what the state they're from as to what the definition is.
Okay. And a quick reminder, if you have any questions, we're going over some of the ones we had over the weekend from people, but if you're watching this live, it looks like quite a few people are, and you've got any questions that you want answered, feel free to write those questions in the comments. We'll get to them. You can also click on the link and either with video or just pure audio, ask the questions yourself and get an answer to your question. But as of right now, it looks like we have gotten most of the stuff, unless there was anything in particular you wanted to talk about, Jeff.
So just quickly, just in case someone's watching this video today and haven't seen the others, the call-in is still very difficult to do for Illinois, so be persistent. It's open, the telephone lines, from 7:30 a.m. till 6 p.m. If you do get into the queue, sit and wait. You're going to need to do that. And also, if it's getting close to 30 days and it hasn't been resolved, you need to file an appeal. You can get it on my website at jeffjacobsonlaw.com, or you can go to the IDS website and get the appeal form. You basically just have to say you disagree with the referee's decision. So those are probably a couple of the things. For unemployment, if you're not eligible to unemployment benefits, and that means you weren't a W-2 wage earner, you then should file for PUA. If you were a W-2 wage earner and you received enough benefits during your benefit year or your alternate benefit year, you can go back to our previous videos on what the difference is. You should, fight for that, because that gets you $600 more a week. It far exceeds the PUA. So if you're eligible for unemployment benefits, make sure you get that squared away. I think that's it for us.
Jeff, we do have a couple of people just saying hello from where they're dialing in. We have Darlene, hello from Virginia. We have Leza, hello from Nevada. I think it's important, just if we could go over it quickly. Again, we are the Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Group, but there's some general advice. And if you could, again, because I know we've talked about this before, talk about how some of the federal law are similar throughout the state. So some general guidance is always able to be given to our guests from other states. If you could talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely, and welcome from other states. So just a brief history. So I've been practicing labor unemployment law for almost 30 years. I was an administrative law judge with the state of Illinois, deciding on approximately 10,000 cases. So it's one of the areas that I like and understand. So the unemployment for all the states arises from the Federal Social Security Act. And there's certain requirements, there's certain due process requirements that the feds had made sure that every state complies with on the process. Each state has some nuances. The calculation of unemployment benefits is going to be different. One of the huge things we've seen is each state has been implementing the PUA differently. There's also whether you report once a week, you certify once a week, or like Illinois, every other week. What is common among all the states, if you call in for help, it's going to be a long process to get through to someone that can help you. So there's also similarities among the states. The federal law requires that states have two methods to file for unemployment. For example, Illinois used to have, you can either file online or you can file in a local office. You can't file in a local office anymore. So initially I suggested that people, sorry, my cat, people could file by mailing in an application. So, but depending upon what state you have, if they already have two methods, then they've met the state requirement. And thanks for joining from the other states.
Yeah, and again, if you have any questions that are related to unemployment or the appeals process that you want answered, please do feel free to comment, just like you did, stating where you're from. We'll try to get those questions answered. You can also click on the link and ask the questions yourself, and that's what we're here for. We're also on the Facebook group, Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Guidance Group. And that's where we draw some of the questions that, for instance, we're not here over the weekend. So collaboratively, other people who have had the answers to the questions resolved weigh in and kind of tell you what to do. We also, when we have time, will comment on those as well. But this is just the daily forum we have to get some of these questions answered.
Right, and I do see, Raza, despite our titling at Illinois and Indiana unemployment guidance, there are people from throughout the country. So my suggestion is, if you have a general question, doesn't look like it's a legal question, certainly post it on our website. Someone from another area of the country may have some help.
Absolutely. And again, this is a daily program that we do. The time somewhat fluctuates depending on scheduling availability. We actually took a poll, an online poll, that said that most people, as opposed to the 11 o'clock hour, were interested in having this at 7 o'clock. So I think in the next few days, we'll try to do that to accommodate more people viewing. And we just want to make sure everyone who needs this information gets this information. So I think that will be something we try to do within this week, change it around a little. You can also always follow us on Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Group. It looks like, for the most part, the questions that were had over the weekend and the comments have been met. So unless there's anything else, Jeff, I think we can maybe end it a little early today.
Right. No, and I'm excited because I do agree with you. I think the 7 o'clock may be beneficial, and I think our audience is excited over it.
For sure. I mean, that's the whole reason for these polls, to get to weigh in, because Jeff and I were discussing when do you think would be a good time to do this. Just like, let's do a poll. And of course, that's the best way to get this participation and feedback, and the people who are watching and listening see what you think. But again, we invite you to keep dialing into this, because we're going to, as much as we can on a daily basis, get out here and get this information. Jeff's got the expertise. I can at least push a few buttons to get the technology going. Sometimes my wife, Sara Sadat, will join us and help read questions. Sometimes we are just inundated with these questions. They come in at a very rapid pace. Other times, like today, we get just more greetings from where people are calling in from. But whatever it is, we want to get the information out there, so we're happy to do so.
Absolutely. It's all right. Well, I think since there's no more questions, we'll move on to other things today.
Sounds good, Jeff. And then we'll let our audience know when we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll publicize that. So talk to you tomorrow.
Great, Raza. Talk to you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.